Well, 2022 is officially in the books, and it was an absolutely eventful year for the housing market, to say the least. Mortgage rates went from record lows to 25-year highs in super short order. Inventory went up, sales went down. But what did all that actually mean for you as a homeowner? What did that do to your home value? I'm going to show you exactly what the data says, and I think you might be a little surprised. So hold on. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Brian Simmons here with eXp Realty in Southern Oregon. It is January 1st, 2023, the first video of the new year, and I'm super excited for the new year, for new goals, for new challenges, and all that fun stuff. First, if you could do me a quick favor and just hit that like button, click the subscribe icon, and share this video with anybody you know looking to buy or sell real estate in Southern Oregon, I would really appreciate that. Now, before we jump in the data of what happened over the last year, I want to show you where we're at today in the local housing market. We're going to take a look at Jackson and Josephine counties of Southern Oregon, and we're looking at single-family residential homes only. On the market this morning, 886 active listings, 45 new listings hit the market over the last week, 50 price changes, 30 came back on the market, 42 pending, 66 closed, and 138 were either expired, withdrawn, or canceled, and that all brings us to about 13 weeks worth of inventory if we were to look at just a snapshot of the 1 week. If you watched last week's video, which is linked above here, you know that I had said that there was a good chance that we could see inventory drop down under 900 units because of the large amount of listings that go expired on 12/31 at the end of the year. We had 138 drop off the market, okay, and that's expired, withdrawn, and canceled. So to put that in context, the average is usually around 40. So to see about 3.5 times that, it's pretty substantial. The result of all those homes coming off the market is obviously lower inventory. And so what I want to share with you guys is a little bit of insight into what happened this time last year, and that is that the number of new pending transactions from the first week of January to the first week of February doubled. So if that trend continues, we could see 80 or 90 new pending transactions per week in a pretty short amount of time. And when our inventory is already under 900 units, that means we could be right back under 10 weeks worth of inventory, which is about 2 months. And that definitely sounds like a seller's market to me. So if you're thinking about selling, we should definitely talk and get a game plan in place for you. Now let's talk about the Southern Oregon housing market in 2022 and what actually happened. It was a wild year for sure, no question about that. So what I want to do is not speculate. I want to just show you the data, share that with you, and provide some context of how 2022 as a whole looked against the year prior, 2021. So let's go ahead and check that out. I can't tell you how many headlines I read throughout the year about how the housing market was going to crash, how values were going to fall, and on and on and on, all sorts of doom and gloom headlines. And for every headline I read, I probably talked to 5 or so armchair realtors who heard from a friend of a friend of a friend who used to be in the business, and they told me that the market's going to crash and I got to get out, and on and on and on. All sorts of doom and gloom. So I'm really excited to show you what the actual data look like, because it's not based on somebody's opinion. This is just purely the facts of what happened in 2022. All right. And so when you see this chart here, the mortgage rate is basically where we ended each year. So we ended 2021 at about 3.29% on a 30-year mortgage, and we ended 2022 at about 6.5% on a 30-year mortgage. That's a 99% increase. Okay. Huge increase in mortgage rates from one year over the other, as far as the end of the year goes. We did see single-family residential sales decrease from 2021 to 2022, a 12% decrease in the amount of sales that we saw across Jackson and Josephine counties of Southern Oregon. So that's important to know, as this is Jackson and Josephine counties, and we're looking at only single-family residential listings, okay? So we saw a 12% decrease in the number of sold transactions. We saw a 8% decrease in the amount of volume. Okay, so we went from about 2.28 billion to almost 2.1 billion, and that's an 8% decrease. That all being said, we saw over the whole course of the year an increase in both the average and the median sale prices. Okay, from about 5 to 6%. All right, so call it a 5 to 6% increase in average to sales median home price from 2021 to 2022. And that does look at the entire year. So if you look at transactions that were closed in January, you look at transactions that were closed in December, and you average them all out, and that's the average sales price for the year. So holistically, the entire year, we saw 5% increase year over year. Okay. And now, I know you might be thinking that's cool and all, but that doesn't really tell the story of what happened within the year. And that's true. So we're going to look at this on a monthly basis as well. So when you look at this per month, okay, starting in January, you can see that in 2022, we were at 453,000 as our average sales price, and that's up from 431,000 January of 2021. All right, so we had a 5% increase. Okay, and I put the rate here so you can see in January of 2022 the rate was 3.29%, and then how that kind of changed throughout the year. It went up and up and up, peaked in October. I picked these rates off of the first of the month. So the actual peak was on October 20th in between these two, and it went up and came back down a little bit within that time frame. So just to explain that a little bit. But you can see on a month-to-month basis, there were some pretty substantial gains, right? So 2021 to 22, if you look at February month-to-month, you had a 16% improvement in the values, okay? If you look at all these other ones, they're all gains, right? Until you get to September, and then we had a small drop in September, a small drop in November, and a small drop in December. So it's interesting to see that, because you hear, again, like all these headlines that say that we had this terrible year and that prices are falling and whatnot. But the reality is that there are only 3 months of the year where we saw any sort of decrease in the average sales price, and those decreases were all less than 1%. Okay, so it's pretty small, in my opinion. And so when you look at this overall, you can see too that the highest month we had in terms of average sales price was August. That was the same in both years. In 2022 versus 2021, both of the highs were in August. Similarly, both of the lows were in January. All right, and so the difference in those highs was 3.3%. The difference in the lows was 5%. And so again, like 2021 to 2022, no matter which way you look at it, from highest to highest, it was a gain. From lowest to lowest, it was a gain. From average to average, it was a gain. All right, so I don't know how somebody could say that home values went down in 2022 versus 2021 when the data is showing it just didn't happen like that. Were there specific situations where you could have had a home that didn't sell or maybe sold for less this year than it could have sold for last year? Sure, of course, like there's definitely scenarios where that could have happened, where there's a unique home that didn't have as many buyers this year as it would have had last year, and that could have pushed the value down. But overall, the whole market is what we're really looking at, and that tells a better story than looking at individual homes. Okay, when you do that, you're kind of cherry picking individual homes to fit a narrative, and that's just not what the overall market says. So I don't see how you could look at this and think it's a bad thing. One thing that I do see as a trend here is that you can tell in the rates here, this is what happened when we were under 6% in the rates. Okay, look at all these gains. Right, that was the change from 1 year to the other when our mortgage rates were under 6%. And this is what I've been talking about. If rates stabilize under 6%, this is what I see happening. I think we'll see much more of this type of appreciation in home values, and less of this type of appreciation, which is not appreciation. So again, there are really only 3 months that had any sort of decrease in the average sales price year over year, and those decreases were insignificant. They were less than 1% each. Far outweighed by the gains that we saw, and where we had multiple months of over 10% gains. Okay, so when you look at the data, like I said, I have such a hard time thinking that that's negative, or that was a bad performance by the housing market or anything like that. Absolutely, we had less transactions closed. Absolutely, we had less volume closed. but the median and the average sales price both went up by around 5 or 6% any way you look at it in between 2021 to 2022. Okay, so I just don't know how you can see that as a negative thing. Now, as far as what's going to happen in 2023, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If rates stabilize under 6%, I think we are going to see a very strong seller's market again. I don't know if it's going to be as strong as we saw, in 2020 in the high, the peak of everything. I don't know if it'll be quite there, but it might. It very well could be. All right. And I think what we'll definitely see is it'll be very, very strong for sellers, and that'll be a great thing for home values. That's something I've been confident in for a long time now, and I become more and more confident in it the more I read, the more I see the data. And so I feel very, very strongly about that being what is going to happen in 2023. Could I be wrong? Sure. Very well could happen. But I think that for that to happen, there would have to be some sort of major event economically that totally just changes the dynamics of the market, because the way that it sits right now, supply and demand, it's just hard to make a case for it going any other direction than what I'm predicting it's going to go. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in Southern Oregon, I would love to talk to you about the specifics of your situation and help you make a good plan and make the best decision for yourself and your family. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me. You can call or text me at 541-954-7758, and I'd love to hear from you. I hope you found this information helpful. Please don't forget to click the like button, hit the subscribe icon, and share this video with anybody you know looking to buy or sell real estate in Southern Oregon. Don't forget to check out my website as well, buyingsouthernoregon.com. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.